I was appointed as a family court commissioner from December of 2002 until 2008. I was appointed circuit judge by Governor Matt Blunt and served in that position until January of 2019. I was appointed to the Court of Appeals Eastern District by our current governor, Governor Parson. And then in May of 2021, I was appointed to the Missouri Supreme Court. I actually never aspired to be a judge at all. I lived in the Fairground Park neighborhood, and my dad and I would drive up Vandeventer quite a bit to get to different places we needed to go. And we would constantly pass the juvenile court. When he retired from the fire department, he became a social worker with the children's division and had cases at the family court. And he said, I think you'd really enjoy working in the juvenile court. And at the time, I was an attorney in the legal department of the juvenile court in St. Louis County. And so that really was my niche, and I loved it. But I'd never worked in the city. And he kept saying, wouldn't it be great if you worked like in the area where you're from? And I thought, I'd like to be one of the people making decisions for these kids. And lo and behold, a vacancy came up. And with the commissioners, you have to be appointed by the judges. And I was very intimidated because the judges didn't know me in the city. I didn't know most of the judges. And getting that call, I think, is still one of the highlights of my life, because judicial appointments are a little different, but having judges that technically you work for saying you're the person that we want and you're the person that we're going to entrust these families to meant a lot. My aspirations to be a judge, they didn't start off in the beginning, but driving by that building and knowing that I could make a difference in the lives of kids is what made it important. It's very difficult to be a judge, in my opinion, because you wear your personal hat and you wear your judge hat. There are a lot of people who win cases that personally I would hope that they would lose because either I didn't care for them as litigants or I didn't care for their position. But legally, they won because they should have. And sometimes the outcomes are not what we want, but they're the outcomes based upon the law that ought to happen. The cases that I've had in juvenile court are always going to be the most significant because my service isn't always trying to better the lives of children or citizens. And I've had a couple of cases, particularly in certification cases where you're sending young people to the adult system. I can still see their faces. I can still remember the evidence. And to make those calls and to know that that child will now be treated, as an adult is very depressing. But those are decisions that I thought were needed. I've terminated a lot of parental rights. I've placed children for adoption in a lot of families. And all you can do is hope and pray that you made the right call. Because as judges, we're not all seeing and all knowing. I think the public sometimes thinks that we are. But we're just human beings, given a task to do, and we're trying to do the best that we can. You get 2 times to make a difference, when you vote and when you show up for jury service. This is just in order for our system to continue, we need fair, clear-minded individuals who look like us in order to dispatch some sort of justice. And to hear people complain after a trial about the makeup of a jury or, there weren't enough women or there weren't enough, African Americans, it's like, well, we need people to honestly take that service seriously and to be diligent about their participation. Every job that I've ever gotten after my first job is because someone called me and said, hey, I think you'd be good in this position. And that's the same with every judicial position that I've gotten. Someone called and suggested, we like your work, we like working with you, maybe you should give it a shot. And, if it weren't for the nonpartisan court plan, if I had to run out and hang banners and campaign, I'm sure I never would have done it because that's just not something that I know I'd be interested in. But I think the nonpartisan plan really gives individuals from different walks of life a fair chance to get to the governor's office and to be appointed to these positions. 2021, when I was appointed to the Supreme Court, to be, the first African American woman on that bench That in and of itself has been eye-opening. When you go places and you think about the history of our state, again, you start to sit back and realize it is a big deal to society, to our state, to other people who have aspirations, not just African-American girls, but anybody. To know, I'm from Fairground Park, and don't get me wrong, I had a great childhood, but if you could have ever told me starting off that this is where my career would lead to, I never would have believed it.